Now, King Charles is making the front pages this morning after being, of course, discharged from hospital yesterday following treatment for an enlarged prostate. Meanwhile, EastEnders also raising awareness of prostate health, and last night, Alfie Moon was coming to terms with his prostate cancer diagnosis.
Get out of the way. You need to move out of the way. Billy, I need to go to the toilet quick. Listen, can someone just move! What sort of bloke can't control his own bladder?
Well, a bloke who's been having difficult cancer treatment every day for the past month.
And I know it's happening, but I can't stop it. I just see Ian and Billy and Paddy just laughing at me, you know, and I'm thinking, is this the way it is now? Is this the bloke I'm going to be?
Well, Shane Richie joins me now alongside Dr. Hilary. Shane, I watched that last night and it was so blinking sad. And actually, I think it was really good that you did that scene. I know you really wanted to show that he wets himself, the poor soul, he can't help it.
Yeah, I mean, this was a storyline that I wasn't expecting to do. I was brought up to the office by our boss, Chris Clenshaw, who was doing a fantastic job, you know, with the big Christmas storyline they did. So this was going to run alongside it. And funny enough, the week he brought me up, I go for a men's health check. I'm sure the doctor here will recommend it for all men. And so once a year I go for a men's health check and everything was fine. And 2 days later I got a phone call, would I go up and see Chris, our boss? And we sat down and I'm thinking he's going to talk about Cat and Alfie or a future storyline. And he said, how do you feel about doing a storyline where Alfie and prostate cancer? And I was like, oh my God, only 2 days previous I'd been for a men's health check. So that was a bit of a shock out the blue. And then playing that story, and it has been a slow burner. And then the more we spoke about it, the more research I did. We got to meet nurses from Macmillan, of course, the charity. And we got to meet certain gentlemen that had gone through this particular disease. So when the story was put to me, I had a friend of mine recently who'd just gone through prostate cancer and treatment. And he's a big keen golfer. Right. And he was telling me that he'd just finished playing golf. He was at the bar with his friends and uncontrollably just wet himself.
Oh, the poor guy.
And I remember thinking about this, thinking, OK, this is so important to tell the story. So I remember sitting with Chris and said, if we're going to play this, can we do a scene where Alfie, wherever it happens, wets himself? Thinking it may or may not happen, and then getting the script and working with Chris and working with the charities, Prostate Cancer UK, they put it in the script, and I remember it was leading up to doing this scene, and I was so nervous about wanting to get it right and to get the tone right. Yeah. So I think we're doing the story justice. I like to think we...
No, you are, and it's a wonderful thing, isn't it, Hilary? And
it's really
that's
important.
What makes it so real, because sadly, that's what happens with this, you know.
Look, it's the commonest cancer of all in men. 52,000 cases every year, 12,000 deaths, 140 every day. So this is a really important storyline. I'm so pleased you're doing it, and what with King Charles speaking out as well. We've already noticed an increase in number of visits to GPs, people coming forward, and we're slowly getting rid of that stigma about prostate cancer.
Yeah. That's why what you did last night in that storyline was so important, because you know what it's like when something like that happens. People laugh at you. Or they go, oh, and it's all embarrassed, and it's all, oh, my God, and all of that. And you've actually shown that, hey, so what? This is what happens. This is the reality of the situation.
And also the way the story starts to play out, and certainly tonight's episode where Alfie's kind of kept it to himself. And I think men in general are very much like that, especially when it comes to something like prostate, because we know what part of the body it affects, and we know what sort of examination you may or may not need. And it can affect your sex life. And Alfie talks about that tonight, and how he talks about feeling less of a man. And then Kelly Bright, who wonderfully plays Linda, says, you know, a man is not just justified by his sex life, or, you know, and the fact that we're shining a light on this particular cancer in men, I think is really important.
It's really important, and it's a bit like the parallel that we have with breast cancer and women having mastectomies. They're still the woman that they've always been, but they need that treatment. And the same with prostate cancer treatment. Yes, it might involve surgery, it might involve radiotherapy or chemotherapy, hormone treatment, but you're no less of a man. You're having treatment for a cancer. And yes, you can get temporary incontinence. You can get ED problems, erectile dysfunction. Usually it's temporary. Usually there's a way around that.
Yeah.
So it's all dealable with. You know, counselling is part of the treatment these days. The more men start to open up about it and talk about it, as you will be in the show tonight,
Well, exactly.
the better.
That's what's good. I mean, obviously with King Charles, it's an enlarged prostate that he's got.
It's a benign one, yeah.
And it's benign. So, but at the same time, it's still saying to people, you know, saying to men, the King got checked out, you know, and watching something. I mean, a storyline like this on EastEnders does so much more because we identify with your characters. You said it's been a slow burn, it's not come out of nowhere.
No.
And how he's had to deal with it.
Yeah, and the story will start to unfold more where you see the treatment and how it affects Alfie.
Oh, that's good.
And certainly, once again, harping on about tonight's episode, where Alfie opens up and talks about it. And I think that's really important, that men in general, standing around the pubs, on golf courses, or whatever you're doing, that we talk openly about it.
Do you think it's getting better? I mean, this will
I do.
definitely help. But
I do.
I mean, it's my dad would never have talked about that.
No.
That would have been all jokey, and you know. But I think your generation and generations before you, your son, you know, they will talk about it.
Yeah, and I talk about it with my boys now. I've got, you know, 2 older boys. And for them, it's becoming the norm to talk about stuff like this. And I think the more when we normalise it, then it's easier to talk about it in pubs. And I think Alfie, the character, and playing that storyline out is going some way to helping. And that's really down to our exec producer at Enders.
But you know what? You'll probably never know how many lives you've saved, potentially. You'll probably never know that, but it definitely will happen. And 40 years of EastEnders next year.
Yeah,
it's going to be big celebrations.
It is. There's a lot of buzz now.
I can't
at
believe
work.
that. That's
40
crazy.
Years. I know. I've been there just, nearly 22 years. So there's a lot of buzz about what may or may not happen story-wise. So everyone's really excited and buzzing about it.
I'll bet. 40, and you love it.
I do. I've not been there for a while.
You were born to be there. Come on.
It's great being part of an ensemble. That's what I love. You know, there's about...
It's a team, right?
There's a
good team.
And, you know, the people behind the scenes that, you know, work on some of these wonderful storylines just are incredible. And they're the unsung heroes, really, of EastEnders.
No, it's brilliant. Thank you both so much.
Thanks, buddy, for being
thank
here.
you.
Right,
EastEnders,
nice
of course,
seeing
and
you.
it's going to be a
Great
good
storyline.
one tonight, actually. It's very moving. Tonight, 7:30, of course, on BBC.